PODF public? PODF public. Share presentation.
With my own
What? Who are you? I'm sorry.
in 1990.
Oh, do you have it on a thumb drive? So the thumb drive, because that's already thing.
I can't use the Google.
Well, if we do that, we lose the Zoom. You have to use the Zoom.
Let me just pull it up here and I'll connect for you. So you can do it. You can do it from her laptop without connecting anything.
Yeah. Go with Christina because she knows better.
I have a,
Yeah, I can do it easily for you.
have a 3D I want to show and it's on the internet.
I took the internet from there. From that laptop.
Yeah, I'm gonna present you on here so that you can use your laptop and share.
Not yet.
2 seconds.
Recording in progress.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we're going to start with a presentation. We're trying to do this, not trying, we are doing this with every month where we're having a department head come and tell us what's happening with their particular department. So tonight, we're lucky enough to have the library director, Eric Carlson, is here. So Eric, if you want to step up to the mic, and you have about half hour to tell us, and that's it, it's a joke.
The short story.
Yeah, if that was the case, I would have written in larger font.
And speak slower.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to break down basically what the library does in a few different areas. Starting off with our space. So our space is utilized by a number of groups in the community. We have 3 different Girl Scout troops who regularly meet at the library. Occasionally a Boy Scout troop uses our meeting space as well. Neighborhood committees, including tonight, there's a neighborhood committee, host meetings there. Then there's other groups like Gigi's Playhouse, Sustainable Westchester, the Youth Coalition, Spring Community Partners. They all hold meetings at the library. Our museum gallery hosts shows of local artists. Sometimes they even sell some of their artwork. This year, we've had 2 different high school seniors or groups of seniors use the library to hold their fundraisers. I don't know what the school project is for, but it's for a school project. We currently have 3 senior volunteers completing their community service projects with us. We also had one
Larger fun.
Sorry, I did not write a complete sentence there. We also keep a student volunteer list for high school students, so to connect them with community service opportunities. We have tutors come and use our space to meet with their students. And we have room rentals for recitals, birthday parties, and baby showers. Our space is used regularly by people looking to do work in a quiet space. We often have small groups from Children's Village coming to use our computers. We also have a regular group from Ability Beyond, a company who works with autistic individuals, come in and volunteer weekly. Every day, parents and caretakers bring young children to the library for a story time to play, socialize, and eat their lunch. Our collection. I've worked with my staff to improve collection development, to purchase popular and high-demand titles, and titles patrons are placing holds on. Our collection, mainly fiction, has increased in circulation, plus people are happier to get the book sooner and not have to wait on holds list from other libraries. Our children's and teen areas have increased their manga collections, which are in high demand from the younger age groups. And very soon, we will be circulating Roku devices with access to Netflix, Hulu, Max, and BritBox, probably Friday. BritBox is being a bit of a stinker right now. Library programs, so we've increased the number of our programs while keeping our regular programs. Our children's librarian has 2 story time programs each week. We have regular monthly programs like cult classic movies, and we've started showing documentary films in coordination with PBS. We have comedy open mics and quarterly comedy showcases. We also have board games with the director each month. Manga and anime club, and a teen advisory group. Our adult services librarian holds book discussions and has local authors come in every month. And we also now have a romance book club that meets every month as well. Our most popular program would be our weekly Dungeons and Dragons program. They meet twice a week. We have 3 to 5 groups of children in different age groups playing Dungeons and Dragons. We also hold a number of events to promote different cultures like Day of the Dead, Diwali, and Eid. We hold our FairyCon event, which had around 300 people last year, and our New Year's Eve party, which is still the largest New Year's Eve party in Dobbs Ferry. Other services, through WLS, we offer access to online resources like Hoopla, Mango Languages, Medici TV, Canopy, and Estante, a Spanish language streaming service. We also offer circulating Wi-Fi hotspots and museum passes to the Hudson River Museum, the Guggenheim, Storm King Art Center, Mohawk Preserve, and Empire parking passes for state parks. Our 3D printers are almost always working. Our staff member who is in charge of prints receives requests daily and weekly from people in the community looking for something 3D printed. They also do a print of the month where people can request to have an object printed for them. And our garden is planted as of Friday. We have healthy milkweeds, which came back from last year. 3 types of tomato plants, arugula, lettuce, basil, parsley, beans, and peas growing, as well as marigolds and wildflowers to attract pollinators and butterflies. So when vegetables are, ready to be picked, I will let Margaret know to post in the mayor's newsletter. Staff, so we now have 2 staff members in library school and a 3rd looking to go into library school after they finish their undergraduate degree. I have given all 3 of them opportunities in collection development, cataloging materials, and programming. This will help build their careers and make them more marketable when they finish their degrees. We also had a library student come in last month for a few days to shadow staff members and get an idea what daily work life is like in a public library. We have 1 staff member who is an English language learner and working on becoming a new citizen. We currently employ 1 student from Mercy College, 3 high school students, and we have 1 staff member recommended from ARC of Westchester. That's all I wrote, so I don't know what else you all want me to say.
Great. Sounds amazing.
Sounds like a very robust program going on, so we want to thank you for that.
All right.
Sounds great. I think the library is the heart of the village, so we appreciate it.
I think people should also know that the library provides notary services, and you can get passport applications submitted.
Yeah, I've been updating our Google business profile to try to increase our search result hits for things like event space, passports, notary services, in hopes that will increase, so.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to be the liaison to the library board, and they have a bunch of new members who've joined within the last year who are incredible and bring such rich skill sets to the work of the library, so it's been really fun to spend even more time there, so thanks for everything.
Mayor, if I can add also, we're having an electric bike
yeah.
set up in front of the library as well, so that'll be a hotspot.
Oh, and I forgot to write that we just had our first blood donation, blood drive at the library.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, they said that we hit our mark for donation, so it was a successful blood drive.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next on the agenda is a Next on the agenda is a presentation regarding 19 Livingston Avenue. Come on up.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to remind the public and the board that this is a presentation for purposes of the referrals and to commence secra. It's not a public hearing that is a long time down the road. And we do have the planner here with us too that will assist following the presentation to talk about seeker and coordination, which is going to be required for this because it's going to go back and forth between boards for a while.
Okay, thank you for that.
Good evening. I'm Christina Griffin. I'm principal of CJ Studio Architects, and we're here with our team, Paul Petretti, who's a civil engineer, and two of the partners from the Livingston Development Group, Vic Saricchio and Adam Sokolik. I'm here to show you generally the proposal that we have for new townhomes at 19 Livingston Avenue. This is a property that's 1.3 acres, and due to the size of the property, the approval process starts with a review by the Board of Trustees. I'm going to show you our site plan. This plan shows, let me blow this up a little. We are proposing to have a cluster development and meet the requirements of the Cluster Development Code 54F and the zoning regulations of Dobbs Ferry. And the idea is that we're going to cluster the units towards the eastern side of the property in order to preserve and keep protected the steep slopes area facing on the western side of the property. This is a steep slope site. So we've taken our deductions from the areas of the steep slopes, and we do meet the code for making sure we're under the amount of impervious surface development. We have, of the 9 units, 1 is an affordable housing unit. This is our zoning page, just showing all our zoning calculations. And we're meeting all the setbacks requirements. And in fact, the zoning code allows 2,500 square feet per unit of lot area. You divide that into the lot area, you can get 18, but we're only doing 9 because of the difficult site that we're working with. This is our landscaping plan showing regrading. The idea of the site development for the property is to create like a platform, and this green line towards the back is a retaining wall. So we're creating a platform for these units that will allow us to have parking for overflow visitors. All the units in the front have 2-car garages, units in the back have 1-car garages, and the other required parking is part of this open lot here. Behind that is a common green area, and then the retaining wall steps down to the steep slope area. We have 2 of the lots for the units are under 2,500, but or 3 of the lots, I mean, and we are going to be asking for a bonus density to allow us to have less than the 2,500, but to give back and to meet the code for a bonus density, we're going to have a open area, green space that's going to be protected by the homeowners organization. And also every unit is going to meet LEED certification. This is our view platforms that we've created. Also, according with the code, there are some view platforms that are required for this lot. So we have identified 4 of them. One of them is up on an island on Livingston Avenue. And we've left side yards that are generous for viewing through the site. And then through the middle of the site, we have also a view corridor. These are just some of the retaining wall details on the south side of the lot. We're going to have a retaining wall that helps to create the level platform that we need for these units to fit on the site. This is our rear retaining wall. And this retaining wall, if you see on the upper right, there's two long retaining walls that are really stabilize this site. The site has a lot of fill that will have to be removed and probably, possibly reused if it's reconstituted somehow. And then we have two retaining walls on the west side. They stabilize the site. But only 10 feet of the upper wall and 4 feet of the lower wall will be visible. This is just more details. This is a section through the site showing the 6 buildings on the upper side facing on the east side is facing Livingston. Then we have we've created a fairly level area between the buildings, the 3 buildings in the back, and then the lawn that's going to be shared by the units, and then the step down to the steep slopes. I'm going to show you now the architecturals. Okay. These are our schematic plans that we have so far. In the front of along Livingston, there will be 2 groups of 3 townhomes. They will be 2.5 stories high. We have on the basement garages in the back, so we keep all the cars concealed from the street. And they are 3-bedroom, 2-bath units. And then these are our plans showing our affordable unit, which will be 80% of the average market rate unit, which gives us almost 2,500 square feet for the affordable housing unit. All the other units will range between 3,079 and 3,162 square feet. Here are our schematic elevations. These are the east elevations that will be seen from Livingston Avenue. In back of those elevations, we have the garages, which will be only seen when you go down through the driveway. And these are all the side elevations of the units. These bottom units are showing to the very left of the affordable housing unit. All the elevations, too, will meet the sky exposure plane requirements for the property. Now, I have a 3D view that I wanted to show you as well. We prepared this view initially. Wait a minute, I don't see it right now. Hold on. Okay, this is our preliminary 3D study of the site. And we started this when we were planning originally to have 8 units, but now we have 9, and that 9th unit is the affordable housing unit. So this is still in progress. We have to put that unit here at the end in the back next to the 2 units are here. There's going to be 3 groups of 3 units ultimately. So what you're seeing here is how this site has been developed so that we have like a plateau that's been created. Then we have a retaining wall that helps to create and this platform and stabilize the site, which steps down to the steep slopes. The green space next to the parking area, that is a common lawn area. And all the outdoor spaces face the back. The garages are in back and tucked under the units. And this is the view you'll see from Livingston Avenue, where you could have, there's a view corridor between the 2 groups of 3 units in the front. And then there's a wide driveway here. The reason for that, one part of that driveway has an easement to allow access to 29 Livingston next door. And this study also tells us how the massing and scale of the buildings work in this neighborhood. We have Cabrini to the south. We have single and probably 2- and 3-family houses across the street. Just to the north, we have a 5-unit building. And then we have a 2-family house. And then we have the condo development to the north of that. So there's a big variety of buildings and sizes of buildings, and we worked hard to see if we can come up with a design that really had the scale that fit this neighborhood and the look of like 2.5-story homes with gabled roofs. And that's the extent of my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Is there any way to get down, just in the 3D, is there any way to get down to the street level at Livingston and just sort of see it from a pedestrian's eye view? And if that's too complicated, just say no.
Oh, we did this, again, this is our preliminary view, and it's based on a Google Earth, and that gives us these strange shapes for trees. So not yet.
Listen, it's still better than.
I'm afraid that, again, I consider this still schematic elevations we're going to develop, so it's really a matter of shape and size, and it doesn't show any real landscaping yet. But this is probably the best I can do for tonight.
Great, thank you.
Person eyes.
Okay, so just a reminder, this is just a presentation. This is the very, very early part of this stage, so I want to thank you for that. Valerie, can you come up and just tell us who you are, what the steps you recommend are, and what we have to do?
So my name is Valerie Menastra. I'm the planning consultant for the Village of Dobbs Ferry. So I think there's a few decisions this board's going to have to make tonight in terms of how you want the process to run. Because this project is more than an acre, technically your zoning code has the village board giving site plan approval and would also do the architectural and historic review board approval as well, which typically then would also have you undertake the environmental review for this application. But this application also requires subdivision approval, so that's the planning board. And a lot of times when you would undertake site plan approval as the village board, you will refer to, the code requires you to refer to the planning board. The planning board would work through the whole site plan and then bring it back to this board for final review. In this particular situation, this is going to be a lot more of a complicated type of process and project because of the different environmental components that are going to have to be reviewed. So if this board decides to retain site plan approval, we're going to have to work out how that's going to get coordinated because this is going to require very similar to planning board meeting, like constant having the applicant return to this board to look through all the different types of environmental issues, to look at the site plan issues, and to begin and actually have the technical review associated with that. It's also going to require the planning board to have to do its subdivision technical review as well and the coordination between the two. So right now this board has really dealt with, while you worked with coordinated reviews with the planning board in the past, a lot of them are more simple projects as opposed to this particular project, which is going to require a lot of engineering and stormwater and environmental review. So you have a couple of options. You could either defer the whole thing to the planning board, or you could still retain, site plan approval, but then maybe have the planning board just deal with the environmental impacts and a lot of the subdivision and get the site plan to where they feel comfortable, then finish the process here. Or you could retain, the environmental review, the site plan, and we can work on coordinated, and we'll just work in the schedule that this application will come back to you pretty much monthly until the process is complete.
So we can keep the site plan approval, so we have the final say on, after the planning board goes through all their issues.
Right.
They think it's ready, they will come to us, and then we decide on this final site plan approval.
That's correct. You could do that way too.
Right. And then, do you suggest that we meet with the planning, if we do that, should we meet with the planning board as we go along to get?
Yes, I would, right. You could have it like, periodic meetings. You could even hold like a joint, public hearing if you'd like, But I think in terms of, there's a lot of technical stuff associated with this, especially when we start doing the environmental reviews between like the stormwater, steep slopes, regrading, the geotech, visual. There's just going to be a lot of stuff that really requires more in-depth technical review, which means that they would be coming back monthly. And
So what she's suggesting is you could retain the site plan.
Right, that's what I was just saying.
Approval, but defer the lead agency designation to the planning board. They're the ones that are going to be looking at the clustering and the density bonuses for the
And the
subdivision.
environmental
itself,
impacts,
And the
right.
environmental.
Just so I'm clear, though, we would make them the lead agency even though we're retaining final approval for the
Yes, you-
site plan?
because they do have, they are, you would be an involved agency in their
Right.
environmental review, but they would be the lead agency and handle that monthly review of the supplementary materials and the reports on the geotech.
And even though they're the lead agency, we have final site plan approval.
You can retain final site
Right.
plan review.
That seems to me the way to go, but I don't know how everybody
Why
else
would we
feels
I
about
don't
it.
think you're going to have a lot of.
Why would we retain site plan approval?
Because we may want to be the ones who make that final decision.
Decision about what's going to
We may not be, we could just talk about it, but.
Well, what would be the benefit? Sorry, you go, Nicole. That's okay, I just wanted to ask if I wasn't sure from Christina's presentation, if there were like waivers or other things being asked for variant, thank you. I think it's
Right, so there are,
variances being asked of us.
you want to talk about?
There are no variances, but the bonus density is something that is in the cluster development code that you can get in exchange for open protected land and lead certification. So that there's a few that because of the width available, we're under the 2,500 square feet per unit.
For all the units or just the affordable?
Just
units?
Three.
of the 9.
Right, so that would be under the PRD, which is the Planned Residential Development. And so that's something else that now in the zoning, that can be either approved by planning board or the village board as well. So again, it really comes down to how much authority you want to retain on this particular application.
Because you would also serve as the architectural review board
Right.
for this if you are going to retain your site plan.
The
Or-
answer too, if he has any.
Or like I said, you can defer the whole project.
Right.
Or you can retain the site plan and architectural review approvals.
So if we retain the site plan approval, we have to also do the architecture, we have to also, hold on.
They go hand in hand
Yeah.
in your code.
Okay.
You have done architectural review board approvals in the past for much simpler applications.
It's not on your own, I mean, it's with recommendations from the plan.
Right, it would be with
ARB.
recommendations.
It's not,
Yes.
We want it to be.
Yes.
And
there's
you,
benefits to that because we have different goals and priorities as to what we look for versus what the planning board looks for in determining, and that's why we have to retain the jurisdiction in those just 5 distinct districts. And this is like, a gateway to the village. It's prime property. I'm really happy to see them back, developing something that's code compliant, so we don't have to deal with those arguments anymore. Because it's been a sore eyesore for a really long time, but this project looks like this today, but, 6 months from now, it could look, very different. And we
Yes.
went through that process, and I wasn't on the board, or I can't remember at the tail end of it with 75 Main, but I do think this board retaining that jurisdiction helped make that ultimately a better, smaller building. I think that if we do retain the site plan approval, I think we should give them lead agency on the steep slope and that stuff, and retain site plan approval, but we should do those joint meetings so that we're
Right.
not delaying the process. Because
Absolutely.
the sooner we can get it approved and to building, the better.
Sherry,
I agree.
what do
I
you-
agree.
you
I mean,
we
I
should
think
keep site
that
plan
I would
approval?
defer to the expertise of the planning board on a lot of the, the environmental things, whatever, but I don't want to hand over the final kind of decision process for exactly what trustee Sullivan said.
Okay, Christie, what do you think?
I'm fine with handing it all over to the planning board because it's right on the edge of, the actual commercial area that is what feels like something that we should have more say over and how it impacts the environment of that space. It's much more residential there, and I trust that the planning board has all of the right reasons to make the decisions, and I'm also not seeing a lot that concerns me at this point in how it would impact anything. So I feel like they know best for this site.
Matt, what do you think?
I agree with Chrissy, actually. I think that the fact that there is so much here that is technical is outside of our expertise pretty much at all, with the exception of Michael. I think that it is a residential street, like it is technically, because of the size, it comes to us, it is an entryway to the downtown, but it is, it's at least, I don't feel comfortable that we are going to add a lot to the process that the planning board can't handle for a location in a situation like this.
You may have a problem, because there's 6 of us. So I think we should keep site plan approval for this. So I don't know how Jessica feels about it, but it depends.
I think we should keep it because, I mean, we are, it's a question because it's a lot of an acre or more, which by default, I understand we would have site plan approval
Right,
over.
that's
So
correct.
in order to be consistent with that, that's the default, so that makes sense to me. I think that we've shown in recent projects that we can have efficient joint meetings with the planning board and move through this stuff, and I think that having us in those meetings raises, questions that affect lots of this size that, might not be just as, we don't have the necessarily technical expertise that folks looking at the planning and zoning code constantly do. We're also thinking about a lot of other factors, including things like the downtown revitalization and affordable housing, et cetera, et cetera. So my preference would be to retain it, and I think I just would want to make sure that we're doing it and we're retaining it in such a way that we are not holding up the process. Like we keep the process moving forward
That's
as
one of my
efficiently
main-
as possible, so I feel.
So then I would suggest then, I think probably the best, if it's all right with this board, is that you would have the environmental technical review be done at the planning board. We can have joint meetings, especially like since I sit with the planning board and Dan does as well, that when we get to a point in the application review process that we're starting to have like a really cohesive site plan, we can have like that joint meeting, so then you can provide that feedback then, and we'll move forward in that direction. And so that ultimately, when it comes back to you, it's not going to be something that you haven't seen before, but you're well aware of what's been taking place. But then you'll be able to have the final say on the project.
But this would be a few joint meetings, not a.
Right, it won't be
lot.
one, it probably will be a couple joint meetings, but it wouldn't necessarily be every month, like a
And it
normal
wouldn't
planning
happen
board meeting.
immediately. 'Cause
Right.
they have to start with the long form and the supplementary materials and getting the technical information. The planning board could handle that up front, and then you would join later once the environmental and technical materials have been reviewed and accepted, and a determination made in terms of a negative declaration or positive declaration, and moving through that process. So I don't anticipate that it probably would be 3 months, 4 months before you would start to need that level of coordination to start talking about site plan.
Okay, so I have a draft of a resolution here.
I have a resolution in the materials, we just need to revise,
Right, so I'm going to read it and tell me if I have.
we just need to revise the determination. Yeah, it is classified as a type 1 action, that doesn't change, it's just that
Right,
you
so
would,
correct me if I'm wrong. All I'm going to do is say, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry hereby declares the planning board as lead agency for the environmental review of the project in accordance with SECRA, but retain site plan, retain site plan approval. Is that too basic for this? You could fix it up later, or what?
no, that would be fine. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great, so let's do it. So, is there a motion for the application seeking site plan approval for proposed cluster development consisting of 9 dwelling units at 19 Livingston Avenue, whereas the Board of Trustees hereby declares the planning board as the lead agency for the environmental review of the project in accordance with SECRA, but the Dobbs Ferry Board of Trustees will retain site plan approval, and be it further resolved that as an essential precondition to further review of the proposed project, the Board of Trustee hereby directs the matter to be referred to the Planning Board of Dobbs Ferry and to the Westchester County Planning Board. Whew.
Perfect.
Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All against?
I'm just saying it so I remember in the future. Against.
No.
Yeah.
So we have 5 in favor, 1 against. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll be going forward.
And thank you for including an affordable unit, even though you weren't obliged to.
Thank you,
They
too.
look nice. Yeah. I can downsize. I think they're bigger than my house.
If you're going to engage counsel, excuse me, Christina, if the sponsors are going to engage counsel, could you let us know as soon as possible? Because we'll need to start coordinating with counsel's office as well. Thank you. Sure, that's all. Just let us know. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Moving along, we have appointments. Is there a motion to appoint Jake Broccoli as volunteer firefighter to the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Want to thank Jake for volunteering. And is there a motion to appoint Anthony Bruno as starting laborer for the Department of Public Works? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosen Asher. That passes unanimously. Jake is here? Oh. Anthony, you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You started on June 1st. According to this, it says starting, after June 1st. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
All right.
Next meeting's retirement.
Yes. Go.
Anthony, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't like. You can go. You want to say, Anthony?
You have an
you wanna-
early morning,
wanna say
Anthony.
anything? You sure?
Thank you.
No overtime yet.
Now we're up to a public hearing, first public hearing that we're having tonight, which is a continuation of a public hearing on zoning code, the tree provisions. This hearing is already open. I don't have to open it again, right, Laura Lee?
Correct. You
Okay.
adjourned it to a date certain, so.
Okay, here we are. Is anybody from the public that want to comment on it? Come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Dobbs Ferry Village Board. My name is Vincent Coulahan. I'm a resident at 27 Allen Street in Dobbs Ferry, a 68-plus year resident here in the village. I'm here tonight to present our input from the village residents concerning the proposed changes to the village code, the proposed change to the village code, the tree section. We ask that you do not approve this proposed change. We need you to keep Section 300-51 Charlie as it is today, along with other parts of it that are directly impacted by that proposed change. The proposed amendment on the down trees, et cetera, will place undue regulation and hardship on homeowners and commercial establishments, as well as a significant danger to homes and business because of the unnecessary administrative controls and expense for homeowners and commercial establishments. This is especially true as a direct result of down trees during and following either severe or even relatively normal weather events. We're asking that you keep Section 300-51C as it is, remove Section proposed, Section 300-51 Echo E, and keep the DBH at 8 inches. I'm attaching a petition to the village board from our residents' inputs and concern. Over 100+ residents have signed this petition. Again, what is being proposed has no benefit. I can't find a benefit of having a down tree on my property, going to get a permit, possibly waiting days to get that permit for whatever reason, where I can get it taken care of immediately to free up my personal property. Again, homeowners and presence unwarranted control on our residential owners. We thank you very much for your consideration to this.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to it?
sorry, did you submit the petition?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I looked down. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jesse Lawton. I'm a resident at 85 Myrtle Avenue. I echo some of the same sentiments. I'm concerned that expanding the requirement for tree permits for down trees does add an administrative burden on homeowners. And I'm concerned that some of the requirements in order to have items like arborists certifying whether trees are dead, or landscapers, like a landscape architect coming, put together a tree replanting program, creates an administrative burden and a cost burden on homeowners. The other thing I'd like to note, I happen to live on a larger property that has a lot of trees, and so the way that the new regulation is written, it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all, whereas I think that, losing one tree if you have 3 trees is very different from losing one tree if you have 50 trees. And I think that there should be an adjustment to the policy to reflect that.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to it?
Hi, I am Laura Lawton. I also live at 85 Myrtle. Jesse is my husband. I would like to acknowledge that we are very grateful to the town for the environmental preservation that the Tree Commission and the policies herein are intended to protect. We love the green space in Dobbs Ferry, and we think that the trees, we appreciate the town's attention to what it has done to make sure that we are preserving ecological and environmental safeguards for the town, especially since we live on a slope. But I think I echo the prior sentiments. I think one of the things that we would very much like to see addressed here is the amount of administrative burden that falls to the homeowner and the lack of specificity in the proposal regarding fees and the burden of the fees and the oversight from the town when it comes to certified arborists and when those are called into question. I think there's not much argument that we are seeing more down trees and more need for disease, damaged, or dying tree removal than we have in years past, not just because of intensity of storms, but, for example, the drought from last fall, which was very difficult for a lot of the trees and the plant material around our house. I think we would like to see the town look at a more flexible policy for properties of different sizes, as Jesse said in his comment, but we also want to make sure that we are safeguarding what the town currently has in place to make sure we preserve green spaces and that we're careful and judicious in the trees that we do take down and the reasons for doing so. We hope the town will consider a case-by-case basis or determination and at the decisions at discretion of the Tree Commission. And we certainly hope that whatever resolution is adopted will not place the financial or administrative burden that's outlined in the current draft. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak to it? Valerie, can you come up and tell us what this law does, what it's intended to do, and what burden it does place on residents that wasn't previously placed on them?
Sure, I'll give you a summary of what is being proposed, and then you have your building inspector here who probably can talk a little bit more about how he would envision the process playing out in terms of administrative. But basically, there's 2 overarching changes. One is the definition of tree from 8 inches to 6 inches, so it would include more trees needing to require permits if they're removed. And then in the current regulations have specific exemptions for removing tree removal. And those exemptions have been problematic from the tree commission's perspective in terms of especially the downed trees, that people have been saying that there's trees downed, and in reality, there have been some situations where trees have been cut and then said they were downed and they didn't need to have permits. And so the tree commission wants to prevent those types of loopholes from taking place, and they're creating an administrative permit so that if you do have a downed tree, you have to just apply for an administrative permit. You don't have to go before the tree commission, but at least it moves the process forward, and then it makes sure that the villages, there's no loopholes being basically taken advantage of. And I don't know, Dan, you want to talk about like your thoughts on the administrative permit, but I mean, we worked with Dan on that, and it would just be a simple permit at the building department.
Dan, can you come up, Dan, and just tell us how you envision the process to be when people have this problem, they want to take down a tree?
As far as like what the burden is?
Yeah, what's the process? I have a tree, I want it, it's either
Yeah,
down
tree
already.
fell, and then
Yeah.
what happens?
The tree's
There's
down.
two
What-
instances, right?
Right.
There's a tree falls,
Right.
it's fallen.
Right.
I didn't push it down,
Right, I
it's
didn't
just
cut it
down.
Right.
And I think this is a main concern is like, it fell, uh-oh, now
The
what?
reason-
They have
the
to come
reason
to
for that,
you
like-
for a permit, and it fell?
So you get a permit to do
Like
something.
Valerie said, they were having problems, some trees were being taken down.
Right.
And they say they fell, but they were cut down. But the other reason is to get the insurances from the contractors doing the work on the property, to make sure they're insured and licensed and everything. That's one of the
Is
other
there a
reasons.
fee
For the permit,
associated?
there's no fee for the tree permit.
Isn't there, like, we don't require administrative licenses for landscape work, so why would
No,
we-
for pruning or none of that.
So why would we require a different level of permit for, like, we have code or law that says that anyone doing landscaping work has to be licensed and insured and have a, contract, or have their license on file with the village, and same with a number of other contractors. Why would we have a different level for, like, and I'm not saying this is for all tree work, but maybe there's some level of tree work, like an already downed tree that has the same burden as hiring a landscaper, which is effectively zero for the homeowner, right? So can you just explain why that should be a different?
Like I said, more just to get the insurances and stuff.
But we don't require,
We do for any permit.
but we don't require a permit for a landscaper.
No, they require a home improvement license.
They have to
And-
have the
and-
license. So
And
we're
once they have that,
burden
li-
on the vendor, not on the homeowner in that case. So why are we having a different burden?
I think to Jessica's point, what she's saying is like, nobody knows if my landscaper has a license or is registered with the county. Nobody's going around and checking it. So if we have a down tree, why do you have, like, why is, you assume that the homeowner's gonna hire a tree company that has the licenses and the insurance. I think that's the analogy.
The county registers contractors and requires submission of insurances, and that's evidenced by, usually it's on the bumper or on the side of the truck, a sticker, which.
Right, but
But
it's
have-
not the
have-
homeowner's
So
responsibility.
my question is, I'm
Well,
not
it
talking
is-
about whether or not they're
it is the
licensed.
homeowner's
What I'm
res-
talking about is the village of Dobbs Ferry in this proposed code is saying there's a level of administrative burden that is required to, for example, remove a downed tree. Now, we can have the conversation, I want to have the separate conversation about the, like, fraudulent removal of downed trees. That's like, seems like a separate thing that needs to be dealt with, but we all know that trees are coming down all the time. Can you help me understand why a homeowner, if a tree fell in my yard, why I need there's a different administrative burden threshold, even though I understand certainly from your perspective, it's, there's no cost associated with it, whatever, but you know how it is, people are busy, they might not know that this is a requirement, it may be like, there's already a down tree on my lot, of course I'm gonna just have it removed, why are we adding a burden if we're already saying we trust residents to check the licenses of their landscapers, we trust, our residents to check licenses of a bunch of other vendors who come to their homes. Some of them do require permits, like plumbers and electricians, but a lot of them don't. So why does this one meet the threshold for this kind of work of requiring an administrative permit?
I think the main reason is to stop people from putting trees down and cutting them up. I think that's the intent from the tree
I have a
commission.
question about that, just because I know nothing about trees. So, but someone who does, like you, let's say, wouldn't you be able to tell if a tree fell or if someone cut it just by looking at?
You can, but usually when we get there, we get the call, it's already, they started cutting it up already because they said it was down. So it's hard to tell by time we get there
And is this
usually.
gonna stop that?
Say again?
Is this gonna stop that? Like, if people don't know
Right.
that they're, like, unless
Right,
we're like widely publicizing that there's this new law.
Nobody knows. Right.
Because you would, I'm sorry, I'll let Dan answer, but I
Can I ask how
Wait,
widespread?
wait, wait, let Dan answer the question.
Wait, say it again?
I don't know, I just am not sure that by having this in the code, it's going to change the behavior that we're trying to change.
I
That's
agree.
my
I
concern.
don't know
Right.
if it will either.
I mean, I get that the intent is for that,
That's
but
what
I
their
don't know
intent
that,
is.
well,
I feel like all it's doing is for the people who are already rule-abiding citizens, it's giving them more work to continue to abide by the rules, and it's not gonna change the people who are not abiding
No,
by
but
the rules.
The other thing,
can change the behavior of the people who are not obeying the rules, because now there is a retrospective remedy, right? The tree is gone, you didn't get a permit, you can't claim that it was downed because you didn't get a permit for a downed tree. If you didn't get a permit for a diseased tree to take down, you also don't have that. So like there's a post hoc remedy for a suddenly missing tree. And, you see an awful lot of tree work happening on Sundays when people know that the inspectors aren't around. Like, it is a real problem and it's a common problem. And I think having some sort of post hoc remedy is or can be a deterrent.
And what's if they don't have a permit and you find out they don't have a permit, then what happens?
We make them get a permit. Make sure they do a replanting plan. There's, instead of replanting half the diameter, we could force them to plant the whole diameter of the tree. But the main reason, what I wanted to say before was that most of the people that are doing that, taking the tree down or doing it, saying it was down, they're contractors that don't have licenses or insurance. Most of the up-and-up contractors come get the permit and have no problem doing it. And like Valerie said, it's more administrative. They bring it in and we issue it. It doesn't go in front of the tree commission or anything.
But those folks still are not, if they're working with an unlicensed provider, then they're not gonna come for the permit.
That's right. So it'll be kind of forcing people to pick the.
Or we're just gonna keep reinforcing that what we want is for people to do this in an above board way, what we're saying is that we're making it harder to do it in an above board way because there's now this extra step that you have to take to do it in above, even though, again, relatively in the world of effort, a relatively low effort, but it is more of an effort. So now we're making it harder to do it the right way because we have this extra step. And I'm not a behavioral economist here, but it seems like we have a problem, which we've identified, which is people taking down trees that shouldn't be taken down. Do you have a sense of how many times that happens a year?
I don't.
The tree commission?
Like I said, a lot of work goes on. Matt said a lot of work goes on Saturday and Sunday too.
Well,
I know we're deficient in our tree canopy in Dobbs Ferry, and that's what it's trying to.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe there's a way we could get at the root causes, so to speak, of this. Didn't even mean that one. Without kind of a blanket approach that makes it harder for the vast majority, I would assume, of homeowners who want to do things the right way.
Can you just explain the difference? What the current law now is for tree, you have to get a permit for a tree removal now, currently.
Right, but not for
So
a
what's the
down
difference
tree.
between?
Not for a down
It
tree.
Not
says,
for a down tree. So I just want that so now if a tree is,
Differences you
if you
mean.
want to remove a standing tree, you have to get a permit.
yes,
If you're saying the new law would say if the tree has already fallen, to remove that fallen tree, you have to get a permit.
yes.
Okay.
And the argument against is that trees fall by accident. and you don't have time to get a permit because it's an emergency.
Well, emergencies are treated differently.
There's some provisions in there
So
for,
emergencies are treated differently, right?
Okay.
So this is only will pertain to trees that have fallen on your property that's not deemed an
It's
emergency.
not like if it fell across the street and it's.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
These were directly recommended by the tree commission, and Mike Patino had presented this as a way to deter that bad behavior, so
Yeah, I can
at
see
the
like the
workshop.
6-inch versus the 8-inch deters, or like, you know,
Right.
it says we're serious.
Right.
It has to be a big tree or even little trees. That I see.
Means more trees
Well-
are subject to these more
Exactly.
onerous.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah, that part.
Because
I'm
now you're
fine with.
including more trees.
It's more trees,
Okay, so now more trees are under
But
the
the thing
village's
that-
review.
right?
Okay.
But the thing that I struggle with is the, like, I don't know that the fallen down tree thing is gonna solve the problem we're trying to solve with the fallen down tree.
I also have a question about that. If my neighbor's tree falls on my property, they need to get the permit, or I need to get the permit if it's on my property, and it's their tree.
I guess it depends on a lot of things, like with a neighbor tree, if you send them a certified letter letting them know they have a dangerous tree and it falls on your property, then they would be responsible. If you don't
Right.
send them a certified letter, I believe you're responsible for what's on your property.
Right, but I'm saying if it's their, I mean, because I've had this situation, so where it's like I've had to cut down branches from a tree because it was falling over, it was gonna fall into my driveway.
Yeah, but I would wanna, if it's possible, I would still like to hear Mike Patino talk to all these things, because I know he worked very closely with them for a long time, and I don't
We
really.
did at the first public hearing, when we first had it on.
If he wanted this.
No, I know he wants it. I wanna be able to discuss it with him before approving the code change.
I think like right, and I know that we've discussed this, I know we've had this conversation
Yeah.
multiple times, I just think, you know, the more information we get, the more feedback we get, it's also like thinking about this in the context of all of the permits that we
And I'm wondering
have.
if we could just have an online form that people could fill out to report it, that the tree fell and whatever, and then if it's something that seems whatever, you can investigate it, but it's not that they actually need to get a permit, they just need to report that the tree fell on their property.
I mean, we could, to Sherry's point, I was gonna say, like, is there a way that we could, bring in a sort of interim approach where we're not like, you know, where we're not imposing this on people and like, we would still have to do a lot of education about this, and we wouldn't be able to have a penalty if it was like a reporting, you know, whether it's voluntary reporting. I just think in thinking about this further, that like, the behavior that we're trying to disincentivize is not really going to be disincentivized by, specifically in the case of the fallen trees. Like, it seems like if there's an intentional, deliberate sneaking around on a Sunday thing, those people are still not gonna apply for this regardless, so we're just.
But you have a tool if they do not.
If
When
you
a
heard-
neighbor, well, most of these are, I've gotten calls over weekends from people saying they're cutting down a tree across the street that they shouldn't be cutting down, right? Dan and I had that conversation actually on a weekend. If there is, like the permit, the need to get a permit won't stop them. The fact that there is an enforcement action that happens after they didn't get a permit, that is what should stop people. That is why there are penalties in law for misbehavior. So to me, this is the best shot we have at disincenting that kind of behavior. Now, it's an administrative permit. You go to the building department on Monday, you walk out with the permit, right?
Yes.
Right? So that to me is not much of a burden. What is
When does the arborist come into play?
Right.
if the tree is
It's
down?
a dead tree, it's not a down tree, it's when the tree's dying or dead or rotting
when it's-
out,
that's
then you
when it's
need the
still standing.
certified arborist.
No arborist when it's dead and it's done.
When it's already
No,
dead.
When it's down, it's done, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you still think you need an
No
arborist even when
postmortem.
it's down?
No. The certified arborist is if there's a tree dead or diseased or dying, that should come down on your property. you get a letter from them saying that there is a problem with it, and then you wouldn't have to do a replanting agreement.
So I think an arborist is needed for, if I read it right.
No.
Contains a written statement by a certified arborist of the need and circumstances.
That's
For
emergency, that's
removal.
emergency removal.
Yeah.
That's different. That's already in the code. That's not.
That's not,
Okay.
that's not
Right,
changing.
that's not changing.
All right, so just so we have a record here going forward. So you're saying that if a tree, I come outside, my tree is down in my backyard, I do not need an arborist for that. I would just go to the building department, fill out a permit saying the tree is down.
Show us pictures, or we take a ride out there and we issue the permit.
Okay. Okay. I know you want to say something. Okay, I don't have, this isn't really, I'm going to let you speak, but go, are you finished, you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the only other suggestion I would say is if you have more questions on this or the intent, I would suggest maybe having the tree commission.
Yeah, that's what I was going to think. The tree commission should be here, but to defend it.
I mean, there may be a way to amend it that provides the teeth of the violation and the fine, but doesn't necessarily go through the administrative process. There may be a way to amend it or revise it. After you finish taking comments tonight, you can certainly adjourn again to a date.
Yeah, I think I'm going to adjourn it to a date certain to have the traffic. I mean, the traffic.
Don't have the
Not the traffic. The tree
Committee would be delighted to weigh in.
the tree commission to be here so since it's at their instigation. Okay, Vin, do you want to say one more thing? Yes. And if you could be less than 3 minutes, that would be very much appreciated.
My name is Vincent Coulihan, 27 Allen Street. Okay. 3 things. What happens on a Friday afternoon at 4:45? Monday's a holiday. Tree comes down on my property.
Get it.
And I'm going to have a party on Sunday. I understand about getting the permit.
But you could always think of something that happened.
No,
right?
This has actually happened.
like a
This
real-
actually happened. What about tonight or Friday night? Again, we have a thunderstorm, half the tree comes down. Half. Do I need a permit for that?
No, because that would be a dangerous
No.
situation.
No. Half the tree comes down, it's just laying in my backyard. I would cut it up. I'm capable and competent to do that. I understand that you're challenging the integrity of citizens of the village of Dobbs Ferry for recklessly going down, cutting down trees. I am totally against that. I'm with you on that. But now you're penalizing the balance of the village. We are going into the penalty box because of this. Again, the worst-case scenario, Monday's a holiday, Friday the event occurs, now my whole family is screwed up because I can't get a tree out of the way. Now, unless you can guarantee a permit at 4:46 PM on Friday, then I would buy it. Guarantee it.
So I have
You
a
can't.
suggestion for,
But
to
I
handle
respect
that.
you, Dan. I'm being respectful to you. But you're penalizing the village of Dobbs Ferry residents. It's not a benefit. I understand your concern. I understand the recklessness. I'm not asking you to be reckless, but being considerate to the citizens of this village.
Okay.
Please, thank
So
you.
what we're going to do now is we're going to adjourn. I'm going to adjourn it to have the traffic committee here. I mean, I keep saying traffic committee. Why do I keep saying?
Can I just
You
make
want to
one
speak?
comment?
Go ahead.
Yay.
While Bob is coming up, I want to, just for the record, make the unfully formed recommendation that one way to get around the situation Mr. Coulihan just brought up is that in such a situation, if the police were called and documented the downed tree, that might be sufficient.
Yeah, that's a thing we could say, sure.
Aberdonsky, Ogden Avenue. I had no intention of talking about this, but this don't make a whole lot of sense. If a tree comes down on my property on a Saturday morning, I gotta get a permit if it's on my house, putting a hole in it?
No.
Who does this?
That's dangerous, and that's an emergency.
Who does this apply to? How about if it goes on the wires? Does Con Edison need a permit?
No,
to
because
take
that's
the tree
dangerous and emergency. We're saying it just falls in your backyard, it's laying there.
There's different rules for trees that
I mean,
fall and.
There's gotta be some common sense here.
There is,
There
it's
is.
an emergency, it's in there. It's saying if it's an emergency, if it fell and it's an emergency.
That's
that-
it. You
This
could just
all
get the-
doesn't
yeah.
count.
I don't need a permit. I don't need to talk to
Right.
nobody.
If it's an
Nope.
emergency.
You're good. If it's an emergency, then you call.
All
the
right,
city
you
'cause
cleared
it's
it
an
up for me, because it doesn't make any sense to have a downed tree on your property that you can't clean up. Now, I'm very capable of using a chainsaw. I've taken down.
Watch
I have your
Trust
business
me.
card, calling you.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn this public hearing until June 24th, 2025.
Can I also request that we look at the question of the kind of one-size-fits-all replacement that was also brought up? Like, I just wanted to say before we adjourn this conversation, like, there were a couple of topics that were brought up.
Yeah, I think one of us should connect with Patino to connect with the tree
traffic.
before they
Tree.
come here.
God, what is wrong?
No one's
things
connecting with
I
the
don't know.
traffic committee.
Something is.
The library board would like a word.
The traffic committee need not respond.
If a tree falls on
Okay,
the way.
so we're going, so Jessica leaves a good point that we should address a couple of issues. Would be with you, Laura Lee, to bring that up, or is that Dan, or is that Valerie, or all three of you can?
We'll circle back with the tree committee. You might also want to consider having this on as a little bit of a work session, so you can have a little bit of back and forth too.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It
So why
would
don't
be,
we do that?
it would be appropriate to have some discussion outside of the public hearing, because you would withdraw the law if you were going to make significant substantive changes anyway and have to, renotice it, so.
Okay, so do I need a motion to adjourn it to June 24th, 2025? Is there a motion? Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor of adjourning it? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to come down. Okay?
Trees in the new parking.
Thank you.
Parking trees. I'm gonna miss
Get
parking
the
and
tree
trees.
commissioner's point of view on the EV
Trees,
charging.
I miss you the
Don't
most.
confuse me anymore.
So you have a second public hearing.
Okay, we're holding is there a motion to open a public hearing for the amendment of Chapter 44 Fire Department of the Dobbs Ferry Village Code? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor. This public hearing is hereby open. Lori Lee?
Just summarize this, yes. I've been working with the chief. They'd like to be making some procedural changes, and your code is based prior to the adoption of Village Law, Section 20. And we thought it beneficial to address the incorporation and the renaming of one of the companies. The other two companies are not incorporated, and they're looking to do some consolidation down the line. Based upon my research and subsequent conversations and initial discussion with John Mancini at NICOM, whom I connected with at the conference, and then again today, we would like to look at this holistically and work with the fire department to assist them in making these procedural changes that comply with New York State village law. So we're working through the process. This just serves to add an executive summary, a legislative discussion at the beginning, which sets forth that there was this incorporation and there was this renaming. So there are no substantive changes yet proposed. That will be the phase 2 of this law.
So this amendment, this law really is just saying we're reflecting a corporate name change that already happened.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just to reflect that the one company was incorporated and then renamed recently. So it's in anticipation of some consolidation to come.
Okay. Is there any comments from the Board of Trustees regarding this? Any comments from the public? Okay, good. So is there a motion to close the public hearing? Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor. Public hearing is hereby closed. Is there a motion to reflect the corporate name change of the Resolute Hook and Ladder Company? Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Galen, all in favor. That passes unanimously, so it's done.
And I'll continue to coordinate with the company and the department to see if we can make those next set of changes.
Great. Courtesy of the floor. Is anybody here to speak on courtesy of the floor? Yes, Judge, come on up.
Judge.
That was a lot easier of a public hearing.
I didn't have to say committee.
Good evening. I'm David Koenigsberg, the 138 Ogden Avenue in Village Justice. I think you know why I'm here. I've been
concerned about security at the in the courtroom. For the last couple of years, we, after the police department, because of its getting an accreditation, no longer provided security in the courtroom. We hired a couple of years ago, 3 retired police officers who've been providing security in the courtroom. We've had some issues with attendance. One of the gentlemen that we hired has a house in Florida. He goes away for the winter. And we've had some instances where one of the other ones is on vacation. And we've had some staffing issues. So last July, I nominated somebody else to be hired, and it's gotten hung up with some civil service issues. I have done some research and presented to you, and we discussed back in March the idea of creating the position of a village constable. And that was, I guess, considered, but I was again told that still presented certain civil service issues with the county civil service law. So I did some further research, and I found that there is a position in the county. County civil service has a job description for something called a court attendant. And when you dig into the description, it talks about the fact that unless specifically designated in Article 2 of the New York State Criminal Procedure Law, this is not a peace officer position and may not carry firearms. Well, if you go and look at the criminal procedure law, there's Section 220 is the description of the powers of a peace officer, which refers back to what are peace officers. And there's a Section 2.10, which talks about that a village, that the following persons shall have the powers of peace officers, one of which is, number 1, under Section 2.10 of the criminal procedure law, constables or police constables of a town or village, provided such designation is not inconsistent with local law. So my reading of that is, and it's been done, and I think I sent to you the text of the Village of Pleasantville, which created this constable position, and then basically, I think, hires their people, these gentlemen, as court attendants, designates them as court attendants, would be a way to address the concerns that just hiring them without complying with civil service would create some issues regarding whether they're able to bear firearms or not. So I'm just urging the board to focus on this. And like I said, I nominated this gentleman back in July. Police department knows him. We're enthusiastic that he's well qualified. He'd be a great addition to the rotation. We only have 2 at a time, but it's just in case one is not available, we have some backup people to provide the security for the court. So I just wanted to, urge urge you, the board, to address this and try to address this issue so we can engage another officer to be able to be available if when needed. So.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
I did see your emails, and I did see your response.
Right.
Someone thought it was just, didn't apply to villages, but you did respond to that.
Yeah.
So,
We have been doing the research, and Jeff has reached out to the
Right.
commissioner, and he can provide you the input on that, but it is a difficult process and does require a home rule legislation and a request, and it also, in other communities that I have represented, they've eliminated the constable title because it provides any opportunity for people to become constables, which means that the village then is responsible for the training as peace officers along with the police department. And really what you're doing is deputizing process servers for profit. And we did reach out to the chief. He made some comments as well. But if Jeff, if you want to just summarize what we're still looking into it to see how we can handle it.
So in addition to my conversation with civil service, Rob was on the conversation also. He's also spoken to one of the neighboring villages who's got a process hopefully in place. Constable, according to civil service, is not able to work in the court, okay? A court attendant is not able to carry, according to New York State, okay? There's a court, I don't know, security officer, I forget what the title was. Rob?
That's what the county was, the county does not have that title of court security
Right,
officer.
right, yeah.
Just yet. We're talking to them, I don't know if you spoke to the commissioner there too, but we're trying all different means to get to where you want to be. You know, I think we all agree that, yes, the security is paramount. So we're all trying different methods, and we're getting shot down, but we're still looking into these things. Just so you know, the update is Ardsley is working about a year and a half trying to get the home rule going through Senate and Assembly and try to change them, and they're paralleling Pleasantville. I spoke to my colleague in Pleasantville, and basically they're having the same issue until this all gets passed through. So they're waiting for the sessions to come back in order. The process has taken them about a year and a half so far.
Well, I mean, but the law in Pleasantville's been in place since, for like 10
Right, and that's
14
actually
years.
Patty Dwyer, who was the former manager there. I know her very well, like you do. Basically, when they put that together, the constable, it's not working. So that's why there's still, it's for all the civil service reasons.
Yeah, according to civil service, they don't have anybody there working as a constable.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask, I don't know if Laura Lee's the right person, someone else, if it's taking this long in Ardsley and Pleasantville, I mean, should we start the home rule process
what I
now?
was just gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're right, you're right.
But the civil service title does not permit a constable to work in a court.
I understand that, but what's the
So it
purpose of the
wouldn't-
home rule? Isn't the
So-
home rule
so-
to get somebody?
They're trying
officer
to
status.
create a peace officer status for and it may mean that
In all fairness,
the
if you look at
commissioner
the,
needs to amend the title for court security officer, which can then be deemed a peace officer, but
And then it wouldn't need a home rule?
they're looking to add in the definition, home rule legislation, to add in the definition of peace officer, the court security officer.
and if you look at the criminal procedure law, there are about 60 different subcategories, and there are some specific villages in towns where they.
That's actually what civil service is
That's-
talking about.
And that's what
getting-
Ardsley's trying to
getting
do, right?
correct.
Right,
I just
so-
thought the way I read this, we didn't need to do that, but.
So if we can maybe get that, if it's taking them a year and a
Well, I
half.
just want to understand, if Ardsley gets it, do we have to do our own separate or automatically apply to all villages?
No, it's
We
just,
tried to go through the Managers Association to do this Westchester County-wide, but then that would hold up their process too.
Right.
So it seems our best alternative is to go get the home rule individually, get
I
it done
guess
for us.
one
I
thought I
have
had
their-
is,
Why don't we
can you
start that?
piggyback on the Ardsley? and-
Yeah, I do have all their paperwork, all their resolutions.
Advise
They shared that with us. They saved us a lot of time, a lot of months.
No, I understand.
We want to get the process, moving.
Can we just do that?
Yeah, so why don't we move on the home rule?
Well, I guess my question was whether we could piggyback and get the Ardsley resolution amended to add Dobbs Ferry.
No, I wish we could, but it's separate.
Not that
But I do have I have access to everything that they sent in, which
Yeah,
is
no, I
already,
saw that, I read that, I appreciate it.
Okay, let me know what I can do if that involves asking the assembly, our assembly person and our state senator to move forward on it quicker, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
David.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, let's move on to
There's Curtis.
courtesy of the floor, come on up.
We're still on Thursday, started.
Good evening again, Matthew Scott Hansen. I'm the chair of the Conservation Advisory Board. I don't have anything as important to talk about as what the judge did, but I wanted to just make a couple of updates for you all and invite you all to an event. I wanted to applaud also the upcoming resolution for Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day, which is on the agenda for later. And I also wanted to invite everyone here, the village administrators, all of you, board members, et cetera, and staff to come on June 22nd to Chauncey Park, where we're to take a walk through the park. We're going to have Chet Kerr there, who's an expert on the history of the park as well. And it's in a beautiful, beautiful time of year. I know several of you have not seen it before. It's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning at Chauncey Park. You can park either down by Mom's Organic Market or drive up the road if you can to get to park at the top of the dirt road. But we are also hoping to put up our new pollinator garden fence there, for which we got the grant from Greater Irvington Land Trust, matched by additional funding from the village. We do have the National Park Service, who's been working for us as consultants for free to write a report about merging the parks together. Lori Lee's been helping us a lot on that to try to get the state land, as you know, joined together with Bramley Park and Chauncey Park and make one whole village park. So we want to walk you through the whole property and envision what it could be. And we're going to have that report printed maybe at the end of this week, and I'll circulate it to you guys to see what our vision is for that one unified park. And lastly, I wanted to thank also Jeff, who's been working hard, and Liz, And I know Stephen also and Jennifer have been helping at DPW to try to expedite the purchasing of the fence, but we're having a lot of difficulties with the village credit card, which is maxed out. And I know tonight we're hoping we're hoping to get that reset, and Jeff's been very responsive for me in trying to help me find alternative ways to get that done, but we haven't been able to buy the materials yet. So we're hoping that on June 22nd, we'll also help with you guys to pound some stakes into the ground and so forth, but we're not yet sure if we're going to be able to get the funding on time, to get the materials on time, to get it there for that date. And we hope to plant this at the end of the spring. Otherwise, we'll have to wait till the fall to when it's cooler to plant.
Okay.
So thank you.
Jeff, you're working on that, right?
Thank you.
Correct. We have credit limit, which is not very high.
Right.
First. Second, we have other people who have purchase orders in the head of them at this point. So it's going to be a little while. The other option is to work with a vendor that the village currently works with, issue a PO. You could do that tomorrow.
Do we have a vendor that you know of that
Probably work with Stephen on that.
Okay.
Okay, maybe we go that route.
And in a pinch, I'm not saying this is how it should be done, but if it was going to hold up the process, for example, could a private person or could someone put it on another credit card and get reimbursed for it, or is that not?
I don't endorse that.
He has to get audited every year, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
endorse that.
we'll try to work with the vendor that we know.
Okay, well, I'll talk to Stephen then about trying to see if there's a vendor that we know that could help us in the middle on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're still pressing to get the DOT process completed, to get that acquisition done. As you know, every month I press and press. I
Every month they
believe
bother
right
you.
now it's stalled with Ward Carpenter's work with the DOT. The map we produced wasn't sufficient, and they need 5 pages and all this documentation. So we are working, you have authorized the expense, and we are working it through. I've asked Anthony to double check again with Ward Carpenter where you are. I'll let you know.
Thank you all.
Thank
It's
you.
10 o'clock on June 22nd?
Yeah, so 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock, we're also going to be weeding the area where the pollinator garden will be expanded into to get it ready, for the fencing. If the fencing's not there, we'll also be spreading wood chips down the trail. If the fencing's not there, we have lots of other work to do there. But we're hoping that it'll be, the fence time before it gets too hot for the summer to plant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from courtesy of the floor? Anybody online? Is anybody watching online? No?
They could be on YouTube and you don't know.
My family watches on YouTube.
There's a lot of people that tell me they see us on TV.
Okay.
No.
Before I move on, because we had from the workshop, we were going to discuss the park, keeping the Gould Park lights on a little later. And I've spoken to Kendra, and I've spoken to the police department, and you guys don't have an issue if we keep it open on Fridays. And why don't you come on up, Kendra? I know how much you love that microphone.
Because the code indicates that the closing of that particular park is within 30 minutes of sundown. And the exception is in the code for any village authorized or sponsored events. So you would need to declare a sponsored event for a period of time or a date or 2 dates or as a pilot or whatever you want to do, but.
Do I need a resolution for that, or can just
Yes, you
Kendra
do.
declare it as?
No, you need to pass.
Well, let me ask you, because we do, maybe I'm wrong, when we do trivia nights at Memorial, that goes past 9 o'clock. Is there a motion? Do we have a, actually, it doesn't go past.
It doesn't go past
But it goes
No,
past.
doesn't.
You might go past that.
Yes, so there is an exemption if you're attending village-sponsored or authorized event. You just need to get it into the record that this is a sponsored or authorized, and then you can schedule away.
Always.
So then that doesn't need a resolution then, right?
That does.
Okay, Kendra, so is there going to be can we have a park-sponsored event, village-sponsored event on Friday? Do we have to have, I don't know what.
I thought the
How
concept-
often do we want to do it? Every
Yeah.
Friday?
I thought the concept was to do kind of like a pilot. Why don't you speak to Kendra why it wasn't done in the beginning, what the staffing concerns are or not, and
We were hoping to pilot it and do Friday and Saturday nights till 9:30 and kind of see how it goes. And if it's a hit, then we will continue it. One of the concerns is there's possibly a lot of out-of-towners coming in. So at some point, we may want to hire staff to be down there just to kind of watch what's going on. But as of right now, I don't think we should start with staff.
Okay.
Okay, and the police, you want to come up, Travis, tell us what you think?
So you just need to establish the dates. And you can
You should do,
pass a resolution on the fly.
whatever she wants to start it through August.
I agree with Kendra.
Very well said.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, we really don't
Time's up.
receive a lot of complaints.
You don't?
Not really.
Okay, because I do feel,
If it does get busy, if it does get loud, there are neighbors across the street. We get those calls, but I can't see it being an issue as a pilot. I think it'd be a perfect time to start.
Just Fridays or Friday and Saturdays?
so can we say as of when, June 13th, June 20th?
Friday night lights, literally.
Okay, so we're gonna, we'll say from, let's say this, every Friday and Saturday for June?
How long, sorry.
Oh, wait, you're saying you don't get complaints from the residents nearby?
We have, it's more during the day, ice cream truck, perhaps. But as far as like nighttime,
So are you looking to start to do a, like, pilot for a couple of weeks or a couple of months for the summer? Like, how long are we thinking we want to test it out?
You probably want to go farther than that, though, because we only
2
meet
weeks.
once again in June in 2 weeks, and then not again until
July 11th.
mid-July.
My concern is though neighbors don't know that it's happening, so they may
It's one thing
complain,
if it's an
you know,
exception.
yeah.
It's like-
right.
The ice cream truck may show
Well,
up.
it's a pilot, so.
Shut it down if it gets noisy.
But don't the lights face in, not out?
Yeah, no, I know.
So let's try June and July, and then
I did bring it up to the rec commission, and at least one of them was very much in favor of it. Yeah.
Do you want to have dates certain, Fridays and Saturdays,
In June and July.
starting
June 13th.
June 13th.
June 13th?
Okay, so we're gonna, is the board okay with approving this pilot program for Fridays and Saturdays in June and July, starting on June 13th?
Well, yeah, but do we want to just do it for a month, like through July 13th, and then we have our meeting on the 15th, and we can
Okay.
revisit it?
That's good.
We
Okay,
just have to make sure it gets on the agenda for July 11th.
July 15th, as well.
July 15th.
okay, we're
That
good.
was my,
Thank you for that, guys, I appreciate
We're
it.
gonna add it to the July 15th agenda to have a debrief
yes.
and,
And see if we want to continue it.
yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, let's move along.
And I'll get, wait, you have to vote on that. I'll get a resolution to Liz.
Is there a motion to institute a pilot program to allow Gould Park to stay open until 9:30, Fridays and Saturdays, from June 13th to July 11th,
July 13th.
or July 13th is Sunday, or July 12th?
Yeah, whatever the Saturday was.
Okay. Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're going to table resolution number 2, right? Okay, let's move to action item, number 3's already been done.
Yep.
We're just moving right along. Shari's kicking me under the table.
I'm kicking you too.
Is there a motion to accept the resignation of Linda Stutz from the Sustainable Dobbs? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? We reluctantly accept Linda's resignation. We're sorry to see her go, and we thank her for everything that she's done. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 5, is there a motion to recognize Local 456 of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters White Collar Unit as the collective bargaining union for the additional village titles of parking enforcement officer, recreation leader, office assistant, office financial support? Is there a motion? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 6 is to set a public hearing for June, all right, is there a motion to set a public hearing for June 24th?
Before we take that, can we discuss for a second?
Discuss what?
Discuss this resolution
Before we do it, okay.
before we do it.
Got it.
We had a work session about this regarding the existence or non-existence of parking below Storm Street on Ashford Avenue that the DPW had proposed. And I may be mistaken, my memory is not perfect, but I do not believe that we came to a consensus on doing this in the way that it is here. I think there was more discussion to be had. At the moment, like, I'm going to vote no on this because I don't think we actually have had the full conversation that needs to be had about it. We had a rushed conversation at the end of a workshop, and then this came onto the agenda with no further discussion. So I don't think we should be doing this without further discussion amongst the board. The Nelson Pope memo specifically even says, though we don't recommend doing this, you could probably squeeze a couple of spaces in there if you wanted to. But their first phrase in there, their analysis was, we don't think you should do this, but you can if you want, right? That's not a ringing endorsement even from the engineer. We haven't consulted the traffic committee who had made a recommendation to eliminate parking there and create a new enable the travel lane that was mistakenly cut off during the Storm Street bump out construction. I don't think we should be having a public hearing when we haven't had the advice from everybody that we need advice from.
You did get a response to the travel lane question. It's not DOT compliant. It's not wide enough to make it a travel lane.
Yeah, the lane tapers down, coming from the engineer. And basically, when the question was, can we add any parking? They said we can add the 2, and then it starts to taper down. And they said because it's on a curve and because of the history of other things, that in their opinion, professional engineering opinion, we can get the 2 spaces in, and that was it, because then it tapers down, because you still have to open the door. They deemed it unsafe because it gets too tight. So they said we can get the 2 spaces in. And
It was
that's what we did.
It was 2 lanes, 2 travel lanes before we did the bump out at the current width of the street. Their note to you from Russell Scott says, although on-street parallel parking on the north side of Ashford west of Storm is not recommended due to the curve in the roadway and the past accident history, there may be some additional shoulder space in the immediate vicinity of Storm Street that 2 parking spots could be created.
So really, the
And that's-
question
and
is
that's what we
not
did.
whether it can be a travel lane or parking spots, it's whether it can be parking spots or nothing.
Right.
Right?
But there,
But I think
but
there's
I
nothing
don't
wrong with-
understand this because
The
there
public,
were
we're
travel
only
lanes.
That's what I was
scheduling,
gonna say.
we're only scheduling a public
Well, it was-
hearing to discuss it. We're not
And
voting.
people can vote against it, and the public can come, and if the traffic committee wants to come, and Nelson Pope will probably be here to answer any
This
questions.
is really, so yeah.
Just
so
setting a
to
public
that
hearing, it's not
point-
deciding something.
To that point, it's not, like, this is an option, but the other option is to just not do this.
That's right.
No, and continue to discuss it and get ourselves a resolution that we can put to a public hearing if we decide to put it to a public hearing.
No,
If
but
we don't add the,
the thing that we would put to a public hearing is only adding parking spots.
Or not.
So it's either we're adding parking, we can't
Right.
make it a travel lane. So either we vote this down because of the feedback, or
Right.
we allow it.
but it was a travel lane.
Right, and that was the
But
problem.
they said it can't be now?
Correct, and that was the problem, the
Why
original
can't that be
design,
now?
well, this is what they told me, because when they put the bump out, and we added the line going both directions, and basically, when they put those in, they measured out those lanes, that right-of-way squeezes down. Before we put the bump outs, there was a problem with people, too much pavement, they were trying to pass each other, it was dangerous. So
was.
according to the state DOT, they said they have to make it 1 lane, people still drive over the white lines, that's just what it is, but they're trying to avoid the 2 lanes, because basically they're breaking the law if you pass the white lane on the right side. So if you follow the law, you're okay. You could get a ticket for trying to pass on the right with that extra pavement. That's why the stripe is there. And then the second part of it was, okay, we can squeeze in the 2 by the bump out where that big traffic sign used to be when they were paving, that variable message sign. That was a good tucked-in spot to have 2 spaces, but that's all we can stuff in there. So.
All right, let's just move on this one way or another. Either we have the votes to set it or we don't.
Originally, we had drafted this to eliminate parking south of Storm Street. The consensus was from this board.
Okay.
They
let's
did
just-
not want to eliminate parking.
We're not debating it now. We're just gonna vote on whether we want to have a
Sorry,
public.
did we get an email with that guidance?
What items?
from the traffic engineer?
It's in the-
About the
Yes,
traffic-
it was, it's in the packet, it was
In the packet.
circulated.
It's here.
But no,
We
no,
got it
no,
on-
no,
we
that
got
I
it-
see, but
Which
Rob referenced something else saying that it was, where it says that we can't do a travel lane there. Where is that?
That was when they first put the bump out. They created the bump out. With that design came that white stripe because it was just wide pavement. People didn't know that it should be one lane. It tapers off by Walgreens, wherever's over there. So you can't make that right turn
No,
going further. But it was already engineered that way before we.
She's just asking you if you got
I-
an email, and I think we have.
I
it.
read
think
something
we have it.
recently from the traffic engineer said that it's not wide enough.
Yeah, I think I've seen it also. I don't,
Yeah.
I
I
can't.
thought that was the
But we're just,
question that we
we
asked.
can either have, like, to Vinnie's point, we'll either have a majority that wants to set a public hearing on this, or we won't.
Exactly.
Tiffany. Just call me Tiffany?
No.
No.
Oh, I thought you said to Tiffany's point.
No, to Vinnie's point, to Vinnie's
I heard
point.
Tiffany's point too.
To Vinnie's point.
We're getting to it. We're getting
punchy.
crazy now. It's 9:13. Okay,
Well,
so.
we have a new thing to call
So
Vinnie.
what are we doing?
Can we just
Was
get in
Tiffany's point,
writing,
it was Tiffany?
whatever happens with this, can we get it confirmed in writing again that
Just resend it.
that travel has been looked at in the right lane and is not an option? Because that is
For
the
the following
basis-
reasons.
That is the
Right.
basis of proceeding with this.
Yes, we have that. You can send it again. You can
Yeah, I'll
circulate it.
find it.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
again, I don't know how this is gonna turn out, so let's just,
That's how the design.
one way or another, let's just vote.
That was,
So is there a motion to set a public hearing for June 24th, 2025, to adopt a local law regarding pavement markings in Ashford End? Trustee Nell, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor? Okay, we
Matt
have
doesn't want to do it.
5 votes, all against, 1 against, that's trustee Rosenberg. Okay. We had a split vote twice today, wow.
if we
Just
can,
keeping it interesting.
can we have in the workshop though, on that meeting, a discussion about this with Valerie or someone from Nelson Pope before we have to vote on it?
Is that appropriate before a public
Well, we
hearing?
have it in the
I don't
public
think so. I
hearing.
think we're gonna
Well,
have it in the public.
Or
hearing.
whatever.
You shouldn't set a public hearing on a local law that you're going to amend, because then you're going to have to set another public hearing if you make changes.
Well, we haven't, to Matt's point, we haven't had the conversation about this version of the drawing. So if there's not a way in the current plan to do that, then I withdraw my.
Okay, well, we'll send you that experts.
We need to talk to whoever drew this and is going to explain to us the merits and drawbacks of adding these 2 parking spaces.
So you want,
In order to make
Public
an
hearing
informed-
is.
You were,
That's fine, as long as we schedule that person to come to the
okay,
public
so we
hearing.
will ask that Russell Scott be available,
That would be great, thank you.
okay?
'cause like I said, I drafted it to prohibit all parking. And then the consensus from this board at a workshop was,
We understand.
we don't want to do that. We want to add parking, so
We understand. I was
Okay.
there.
We didn't want to eliminate parking if,
there is no
Parking.
parking there now.
I
All
understand.
right, we voted on it, let's move on. So action item number 7, is there a motion to declare June 11th, 2025 as Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day in the Village of Dobbs Ferry? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Nell, all in favor, that passes unanimously. Is there a motion to declare a 2012 Ford F-550 dump truck as surplus equipment? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Rosenberg, all in favor, that passes unanimously. Is there a motion to schedule a public hearing for June 24th, 2025, to consider a local law amending the noise provision in the Dobbs Ferry Village Code to set a deadline to prohibit use of gas-powered leaf blowers? So background, we are looking at
Sundown.
prohibiting any gas-powered leaf blower effective January 1st, 2028. So to go over that, to change the law, we have to have a public hearing with discussions. So is there such a motion? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Sullivan.
We had just pointing out in the workshop, we had all somewhat seemed to be interested in doing it sooner. But I don't know that there was a consensus taken and, no.
Probably.
I know Patino
I
was the
thought there
one who
was
was
a
like, can't we
consensus.
just do it sooner? And everyone was like, no, maybe, that sounds, and then we all trailed off and went and did something else. Really? So just
We can address
in the
it.
way of like, you can address it, but to Lori Lee's point, if we're doing a public hearing, we don't want to put the code out there for the public hearing if that's not our intent.
Right, but I think one of the goals of this is to be consistent with the other
Yeah.
villages,
Right.
right?
And
So I
to,
know,
and to ease everyone into it.
This matches Ardsley.
in Ardsley, it matches Ardsley.
I don't
I know, I'm just pointing that out, just in case people
They
remember and
follow
be like,
ours.
oh yeah, I want to do it in 2026. No, just my,
Right, they followed ours.
I'm
and we're
fine with doing
following
I
ours.
think it's
Okay.
better to phase it in.
So we have the motion, we have the second, all in favor, that passes unanimously. Is there a motion to, now, this, before I even make this motion, we had this issue regarding the salaries of the part-time and seasonal employees at the last hearing,
Thank you for this chart.
and we have a chart now that explains it. So before we go forward with the motion, is there any questions or comments on this?
As long as you understand you're not approving or authorizing salaries for village, I mean,
Part-time.
for library.
Yes.
The asterisk is in there.
And we
There's
have
an asterisk,
everything's,
so, just so you know.
It's
And
just
everything-
acknowledging we're not approving. Sorry.
Perfect.
it's okay, everything meets, I can't remember what minimum wage was.
Right.
1650, yes, everything's.
So everything's at a minimum of minimum
Except
wage,
for the library, which sets
which
their
is
own.
not ours, okay.
1650, the rec assistant is here at $16. Oh, no,
Right
that's the new
side?
one is, I'm sorry.
Right side.
These are also recommendations that the village administrator will approve.
It's just a range,
Yep.
right?
It's a range.
It's not automatic to high. It has to be
Right.
approved.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the 2025-2026 salary suggestions for temporary, seasonal, and part-time employees? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Next item is concerning the EV charging stations that we had previously requested, but now based upon, we previously requested 58, and now due to the pending construction at 99 Cedar Street, we are going to ask,
Pending,
what did I say?
potential construction at 99 Cedar Street.
Pending potential
It's not underway.
Proposed? It's not pending happening,
proposed,
potentially
any of
going,
those P words. It would be based, if we were to keep the 24 stations at 99 Cedar Street and it was removed within 5 years, we would lose the funding for it. So we've now, to be safe than sorry, we're going to remove that request for those 24 stations, but we will continue to pursue opportunities to expand the EV charging stations access at 99 Cedar Street when we talk to the approved developers. So is there a motion to amend the Board of Trustees Resolution number 103-2025 to remove 99 Cedar Street municipal parking lot from approved locations for the installation of EV charging stations? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Nell, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
We're just not adding any back.
At this time, no. Is there a motion, action item number 12, is there a motion to approve the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Nell, all in favor, that passes unanimously. Now I need a motion to add a resolution, actually two resolutions.
Yeah,
So,
you know, we also added the Gould Park resolution. Ms. Draper might want you to just reflect that you took a vote to add that to action items as well.
okay, so let's do this. Is there a motion to add the Gould Park Pilot Light Program to the agenda? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. That's added to the agenda. Now, is there a motion to add another action item to rescind the resolution authorizing awarding of a bid to Cornerstone Restoration? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Rosen Asher.
Can we, is there a, so I.
Let me just do this vote so we get it added to the agenda. All in favor? Okay, now it's added to the
Adding to the
agenda.
agenda.
Now we can talk about it. You have a
Which one are you
question?
talking about first? Are you gonna do an order?
No, we did the Gould Light
Oh,
one.
we passed that? Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Sorry.
let's talk about this one. Matt, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, so I discussed this with Rob when we were at NICOM, and I understand that the contractor whose contract we are rescinding, was no longer given the new design of the road or the sidewalk able to do the work. But my only question, and I'm not suggesting that we vote against rescinding a contract that can't be fulfilled, is where does that leave us process-wise in terms of, do we have to rebid? Is the second
Yes.
bidder, we do?
You do
Right.
have to
Yeah,
rebid.
yeah.
Yes,
We say the same thing.
We spoke to Rebecca Rashudo, and she pointed out that you have no authority under the law to move to the second
Because we-
highest bidder, because Anthony was kind enough to reach out to Landy and to get an estimate for that, but now you have to rescind this, reject all bids, and rebid.
So what does that do to the already preposterous timeline for getting this piece of pavement put in?
It has to be re-advertised as a public bid, starting from scratch from
And-
when we got the Cornerstone people on.
Are we now talking about spring
And-
next year?
And the revised scope will now be part of the actual bidding document. Anthony's working on that.
So just for the record, can you tell us?
Hopefully it'll get
what-
done this year.
What's happened with, we awarded this bid to Cornerstone, what happened when it was awarded? What efforts have we made to reach out to them? What's been going on?
Several attempts were made to get them on board. We actually had a kickoff meeting, and at the kickoff meeting, we asked, as we always do, to sign contracts, we need the insurances and the bonds, and they were unable to provide both of those.
Did they attend the meeting?
Yes.
And they said they were going to provide that
Right,
information?
and I wouldn't sign off a contract without them. Many attempts were made to get them back on board.
Would you say more
Lost
than
touch.
5?
At least 3 that I'm aware of.
Okay,
The
when you say
engineers more.
attempts, were they phone calls or letters? What were we doing? Emails?
Definitely a little bit of each. Phone calls, it was, we.
I'm surprised that a contractor would do this because it kind of
Well, I
puts
think
like
he
a
would.
limp on there.
Anthony said that the gentleman, he took ill for a while, so he kind of dropped off. And then after that, there was still pressuring, and I remember seeing the emails and yes, there were calls. So he just couldn't provide it, and at some point, we just had to say, cut our losses and move on to the process.
Are we jeopardizing this grant that we received?
I'd have to go back and see, because it's been 3 or 4 years already.
I mean,
You
if they're
can't
not
jeopardize the
it's-
grant.
It's, but if they're not responding, we can't move forward regardless, right? So,
But are they not responding because of the revised scope? Like if it was the original scope?
No, they responded and provided an estimate, and the
We voted on
contract
the increase.
amount was,
Yeah.
the contract amount was amended. So they responded back with the revised scope estimate.
But I think to Vinnie's point, like, I don't know what the reach out is, but like, and I'm not saying we have to do that this time, but, going forward, like, there should be maybe a harsh letter or something, some like real written response, putting it out there because they've kind of really left us in the lurch and we're going to possibly lose grant money. And is there any recourse for us with the contractor because of that? Because if they had signed the contract a month ago or 2 months ago, whenever you tried to do it, Rob, then we wouldn't be at risk of that. I don't know legally what you can do, Laura Lee, or not do, but.
I guess also there should be a procedure. I know this is very rare, but there should be a procedure, whether we make a phone call, then we do a letter, then we do, whatever that procedure is. But I guess to trustee Galen's point, I mean, if they're not responding, what's our next choice?
Practicality doesn't get us anywhere. Consumer protection.
But can you talk to
not our fault this time.
the state?
All
Is
those
it the state
conversations
grant?
are being
Is it
deleted.
State grant?
It's a CDBG grant.
No, this wasn't CDBG, this was a state.
Yeah.
Can you check in with them and let them know what's happening so we know for sure whether we
whatever.
should, if we need to stop spinning our wheels because we've lost it, we should know that.
I'll follow up with them again.
Who is they?
Whoever, I forget, it's
The
a state
DOT.
agency. Is it a state grant? I don't know if it's a tip grant, whatever.
It's a tip grant that we got
Don't say it.
from then Assemblyman Tom Abenanti.
Oh,
Were you on the board then?
No,
So you have.
I was on the traffic committee then. Donna
oh yeah, I was on the board
Cassell,
then.
yeah, Donna Cassell and Rob Barron buttonholed Assemblyman Abenanti at some other event and made him say yes.
Okay.
And it's that long ago that we got this grant.
I
But
hate
that
to,
means we could connect with Mary Jane to see,
right, but there may be
Yes.
to
less.
make sure we
But
keep it.
Penalize us for-
Certainly wouldn't hurt to connect with Mary Jane.
Right. And I hate to vote on this, but I guess we have no choice. So is there a motion to rescind the resolution authorizing award of bid to Cornerstone Restoration Group, the Wall Grove and Washington Avenue Sidewalk Project? Trustee Nell, second trustee Rose and Asher, that passes unanimously. I want to add one more thing, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to add to the agenda a resolution authorizing the purchase of a garbage truck chassis for the Department of Public Works. I'm going to add it to the agenda. Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor. That's hereby added to the agenda. Now, is there a resolution? I think we had this discussion at a last meeting, work session. So is there a motion to authorize the purchase of a garbage truck chassis for the Department of Public Works?
What's the amount again?
Quoted cost of the chassis is $239,990.
That's just the chassis.
That's the trash. The truck body is quoted at $146,013. Okay, is there a motion? Trustee Rosen-Asher, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We're done. Do you want to tell us what's going on in the world of your liaison reports?
What about the
Trustee
claims?
Gammon?
What are the
Did it.
claims?
Who did the claims
You did?
before the new resolutions?
Oh, that's first. Got it. Thank you.
The big news is that hopefully Phoenicia Flea and River Arts Music Tour will be going forward Saturday. We are keeping an eye on the forecast, and those two events will be moving in tandem. So if River Arts, you know, for obvious reasons, musical instruments and electronics is very vulnerable to rain, so we're keeping a close eye on that. They would both move to Sunday if there's a rain date. We have not determined yet what would or wouldn't happen if Sunday's forecast is also rainy. But we're gonna think positively, and we're gonna not have a rain date. So they're happening on Saturday. And I know there's exciting stuff happening in the downtown as well, which I'm sure Trustee Nell will talk about, and also shuttles from the waterfront to the downtown to get people shopping and taking advantage of all those events. And I don't have much to update from the library because you all heard that already.
Trustee Rosenberg.
I don't have anything.
Trustee Sullivan.
I don't have anything.
Trustee Rosen-Asher.
Okay, the Human Rights and Diversity Committee wants to wish everyone happy Pride Month, and Greenberg Pride will take place on June 28th. It will start with a motorcade from Ardsley and then walking down from Cedar and Main to the waterfront. Also, June is Juneteenth, so which is now a holiday recognized nationally, so we want to recognize the importance of that day as well. And they've had such great success with the listening circles that they are now going to do a more targeted approach, and they will be looking to do a listening circle with some of the seniors in the village, and also with some young people between the ages of 18 and 30. So if you fall into either of those categories, please get in touch with the Human Rights and Diversity Committee and be part of one of the listening circles, because it's an incredible experience.
Trustee Nell.
Everything that Jess said regarding downtown, working with Phoenicia Flea. We're coining it the shopping shuttle, that is going to take you from the waterfront up to downtown. And what else is going on? We have Wickers Creek Market happening on the 22nd, Sunday, following weekend. And I believe we're having a shuttle then too. So we're moving right along.
Okay, I just want to, I don't know if I could go without hurting my back. But
Talk about the sidewalks.
we got thank you. Why don't you hold it up? That's great, thank you.
Thank you.
So Trustee Sullivan and Trustee Patino and I attended the award ceremony where the village was awarded a commendation for the outstanding planning of Gould Park. We have everyone knows, we redid Gould Park, and we won an award for that. I did thank the village planner, village staff, and village engineer. Anybody else? Kendra, thank you, Kendra.
Dan, Romer, DPW, like everyone was really like involved. Me, Matt, and Michael Patino were on the subcommittee, and I think
feel
it was
disrespected by the fact that you have not thanked us personally.
no, but it really was like a village effort. All the departments helped, and it was and Laura Lee as well. And thank you, Laura Lee, for pushing us to apply for the award that was well-deserved.
Okay, is there anything else?
Oh, sidewalk sales, you want to mention that you're having sidewalk sales as well? I know we had some.
Yes, that's what, the shopping shuttle will take you up for outdoor shopping at all the downtown businesses that are happy to participate. And, yeah, that.
Perfect.
Okay, in closing, I just want to acknowledge that one of the village staff, we lost, someone in village staff, Liz, lost someone very close, her partner, Karen Kelly, and we just want to say how sorry we are, Liz, for your loss, and please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you in these difficult times. So we are deeply sorry for what you're going through, and we appreciate that.
I'm here for you, Liz.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to close tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor. Meeting is hereby adjourned.